Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Erica Ellis. I'm a clinical psychologist and professor specializing in mindfulness and mind-body issues. Today I want to talk to you guys about the connection between the mind and the brain. By way of analogy, the mind and the brain are a bit like a car. The mind is like the driver and the brain is like the engine. How someone drives a car is going to impact an engine, just like the engine itself is going to impact how well you can drive the car. Someone's mental clarity is going to impact the functioning of their brain, just like the structure of their brain is going to impact how clear their mind can be. These two parts are interrelated but different. So Stephen Porges explains this through the lens of evolution and physiology. He says, the brain is designed to scan the environment for threat. It's there to keep us safe. And according to Porges, there's three categories in which we perceive potential threats. We either see safety, danger, or if that danger becomes inescapable, then it becomes deadly, fatal danger. So safety, danger, and fatal danger or deadly. And depending on which perception we have of safety danger or fatal danger, it'll ignite different circuits in our nervous system to respond to it. This is the same system that our animal ancestors have. So we've all heard of, or many of us have heard of, the reptilian brain and the mammalian brain. These are terms that have now made its way into layman language, but they started with Paul MacLean, the founder of the triune brain theory. And the triune brain theory corresponds to Porges's three different levels of threat. So the reptilian brain is the major defense response for reptiles, and it responds to deadly threat by immobilizing us. The mammalian brain responds to perceptions of danger by mobilizing us into fighting or running, the so-called fight-flight system. And finally, safety is governed by the newest part of our brain called the neocortex, the outer bark that surrounds the brain. And this is most developed in humans. So, by way of example, if you think about a gazelle in the wild in Africa, hanging out, eating, this would be a state of safety. When a cheetah peeks around the corner and they start running, this kicks them into danger mode. And after they're running for a while and they realize how fast that cheetah is, and they realize they're a goner, they take one last effort towards survival to play dead, because predators don't eat prey that are already dead, and it conserves blood flow to the brain. This is the cheetah invoking his reptilian response. Now, this trajectory is very adaptive. There's a reason that it's evolved in us as humans, because if you're walking down a dark alley and faced with someone who's trying to mug you, you don't need to be talking them out of it. You need to start running or hiding or fighting. The problem with this model is that generally we're not facing this level of threat in our everyday lives, in this culture. So the kinds of threats we're often facing are an inbox full of emails, traffic on the way to work, too much homework, too much to do at work, and we're responding to these kind of stressors with the force that we would respond to outrunning a cheetah. So imagine that you're at work doing a presentation and you get up in front of the group, and it's a group you know and you feel pretty comfortable with them and you've run the presentation through a couple of times, but as you start talking, people look confused, some people look apathetic, they're not really paying attention, they seem bored, and your brain clicks into danger mode and your fight-flight system takes over. For those of you guys who have ever experienced a panic attack, this is probably where you live right here. And in this state, things go from bad to worse. You try harder and harder to engage them. Your voice gets sped up. But your coworkers are now playing Candy Crush on their phone and comparing their scores and laughing and giggling, and you've lost the room. This danger in your brain's perception has become fatal because you can't leave the room. You're giving the presentation. So now you invoke our human version of the reptilian response. Maybe you freeze up and get really stiff. You lose your train of thought. Your body starts to collapse over like this. Right? In really severe cases, maybe you faint. So you can see the language of the mind is not really the same as the language of the brain. You're not consciously thinking, likely you're not consciously thinking, oh no, this talk isn't going well, I'm going to die. You're probably thinking, this talk isn't going well, this is terrible, this is embarrassing, I feel ashamed, oh no, what if I can't do this again? Or maybe you're thinking, these people are such jerks, I can't believe this, they're so rude, I feel disrespected. Because the mind has the much greater capacity for nuance, different discernment between lots of types of emotions. It's like the brain is analog, and it thinks in zeros and ones, and black and white. And the mind thinks in much more complex perception, right? It's digital. So the messages are always going to be a bit muddled between our digital and analog minds. Our job is to reconcile these two languages, our digital mind and our analog brain, and discern actual and perceived threat.